BJ Mafia, what's poppin'? So Jags fans, we are in the middle dead point of the offseason right now. There is absolutely nothing interesting going on right now. The Jaguars in the front office, they could sign some veteran free agents to come and join the team right now who are still available out in the free agency market, but the Jaguars have done nothing. The Jaguars finished up the draft just last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago already, and there's no OTAs, there's no training camp. There is literally absolutely nothing going on right now. And that's why I'm kind of running out of ideas for right now with this dead point of the offseason. So I want you guys to please go ahead and drop me down in the comments a video that you guys would like me to go ahead and talk about. There's gonna be a bunch of agendas and a bunch of propaganda I will be pushing here soon, but I'm trying to hold off on those videos for you guys because they're gonna be super great. And I know you guys are gonna enjoy the agendas that I'm gonna be pushing. But Jags fans, as you guys can see from the title of this video, I'm gonna be reacting to Jags Twitter's unpopular opinions, and I'm gonna try to get through as many as I can as quickly as possible. So without wasting too much time, I do wanna get into this video, but before we do, if you guys please go ahead and drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me and the channel out tremendously. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit the subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure you guys also go ahead and follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day. The link tree will be in the description down below, so you guys can go ahead and check that out. But Jags fans, let's get into this first unpopular opinion. All right, first take. Tom Coughlin did more to destroy the culture of the locker room than Jalen Ramsey. Now, this is a very touchy subject. Tom Coughlin is the winningest head coach in Jaguars history. Jalen Ramsey is a very beloved yet hated player. And I'll say for me personally, not the biggest fan of him for a multitude of reasons, but I won't get into that too much. I will just say that unless we worked inside the building, and I did not work inside the organization during 2017 when the Jaguars were on their run and when the Jaguars really had Tom Coughlin and Jalen Ramsey inside the building, none of us truly know, so I don't want to speculate too much, but I will say from the reports and from what we've heard, especially with how toxic the environment was in Jacksonville with that culture and the regime with Doug Marrone and Tom Coughlin and kind of that whole niche of people, I will say that yes, Tom Coughlin did more to ruin the Jaguars necessarily in that environment than Jalen Ramsey. I think Jalen Ramsey just got a lot of the heat for it because he requested a trade and he was a superstar player. So he kind of got the forefront of it. So that's as much as I'll say about that one. Getting into the next unpopular opinion, our 2023 draft class has the potential to be one of our best draft classes, obviously outside of the 2021 draft class. Let me fly through this one because there's a lot I could talk about. The 2021 draft class, yes, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, Andre Cisco, and there's probably some other players in there off the top of my head I can't recall. Those picks right there are huge cornerstone pieces to the Jaguars, and everyone can say, oh, we would have taken Trevor Lawrence #1 overall. That's a no-brainer. I could have done that. Sure enough, you could have done that. But you got to give credit to Trent Baalke and Urban Meyer because at the end of the day, they took Trevor Lawrence #1 overall. That's something we can never take away from them, right? Having our generational quarterback, having our franchise quarterback, and the most important pick in our franchise's history, probably by default, makes that the most important draft class in our entire franchise's history. But there's been some other great draft classes out there. And with 2023, I will say, look, only time's gonna tell. I doubt that's even gonna be a top 2 draft class, top 2, top 3 draft class for the Jaguars in our franchise's history, right? I look at some other really good draft classes with 1998. I believe that was Donovan Darius and Fred Taylor. 2004 was a really good draft class as well, if I remember correctly. Maybe that was John Henderson, if memory serves me correctly. The one with Maurice Jones-Drew and Mercedes Lewis was a great draft class. I'm trying to think of some other ones off the top of my head. 2016 was really good as well too. Yannick Ngakoue, Miles Jack, Jalen Ramsey. 2014 was loaded. Allen Robinson, Marquise Lee, Blake Bortles, and probably some other good depth there. We've had some really good draft classes, some solid ones, and we've obviously had some not very good ones. But I will say 2023, I guess if you look at the overall depth and how large of a draft class it was, selecting 13 players, it has the potential to turn into that. But if 2023 is going to become that great of a draft class for the Jaguars, I expect Anton Harrison to be the right tackle / left tackle, wherever the Jaguars want to place him for the entirety of his career, as a dominant future Hall of Famer tackle. That's what he's going to have to be. He's going to have to be Trent Williams 2.0, and some other guys like, you know, Tank Bigsby, maybe Brenton Strange, and a handful of others. These guys are going to have to develop into Pro Bowl caliber players. Time will tell. I don't want to talk about that too much. Let's get into the next one. Getting into the next unpopular opinion, it says, we were overachievers last week. I think you meant to say last season, and will struggle to start the beginning of the season. I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that. If you want to be technical, I do think that the Jaguars overachieved. The Jaguars were not supposed to be where they were playing with house money in the divisional round of last year's NFL playoffs, but I will say to struggle to start the beginning of this next season, who knows, right? There might be injuries on our team, knock on wood. There might be injuries on other teams, or we just might not have the dominoes fall our way sometimes with the referee, something that we're very used to. Who knows? There's a lot of great opponents that we play. The Baltimore Ravens, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers with Mike Tomlin, the Cincinnati Bengals. Like, there's a lot of great teams on our schedule. We could start off 4 out of the first 5 games of the season with a very tough schedule for all we know and go, 2-3. Who knows? But as of right now, I'm not too concerned about that. I'm worried about getting into training camp and OTAs healthy and getting ready to get this ball rolling. This next unpopular opinion says Josh Lambo is the greatest kicker in Jaguars history since he got Urban kicked out of the league. Look, I'm all for a good troll. This is funny. But in all seriousness, though, Josh Scobie, and I'll always be a Josh Scobie guy, that's the greatest kicker in Jaguars history, even though I can respect the troll. Into the next one, Evan Ingram is overrated. I wouldn't necessarily say Evan Ingram's overrated. Let's give him another season in Jacksonville after he just posted a career-high season, 73 receptions, 766 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Only had 3 drops last season. 3 drops, that's it. Compared to, the whole, agony and miscues of him, not being concentrated on catching the ball and consistently having drops up in New York. He only had 3 drops last season. Evan Ingram is a very good tight end. He's not quite top 5, but he's definitely in that 6 to 8 range, I would say, of upper echelon tight ends. The next one says Josh Allen hasn't lived up to the hype. Now, the 2019 draft class that had guys like Nick Bosa, Clinton Farrell, and Quinnen Williams all taken ahead of him. Josh Allen fell in our lap at pick number 7, so first of all, there really wasn't hype like that. Sure, he is a top 10 pick, and he was our first round pick. And Josh Allen's been a very solid to above average, outside linebacker, defensive edge, however you want to label him. But I wouldn't necessarily say that there was hype around Josh Allen. More so just he's been an above average player at best. In year 5, we're going to have to really see how he performs. But if we're asking how he's going to perform in year 5, probably not a good thing, but I do expect him to take another big step considering Trayvon's going into year 2, another year under the scheme and just more talent on the defense. I expect Josh Allen to have a big year 5. Next tweet says, we're going to end up in a position where we just need one really good player and trade our first round pick for some dude who can help us get deeper in the playoffs. I am all for this, and I completely see it. Because the Jaguars are probably going to be 9-3. They're probably going to be 10-3, where they're looking to be a number 1 or number 2 seed in the AFC. They want to make a deep postseason run. They're going to say F them picks, and they're going to go out there and get a veteran edge rusher who can come in and help produce immediately. And I know a guy like Zadarius Smith is a guy a lot of Jags fans have talked about. Maybe Brian Burns possibly, maybe Chase Young. I know he's had his injury history, but there's a lot of names circulating out there that the Jaguars could go out there and say, you know what? F them picks. We're going to go out there and try to make a deep postseason run. I completely agree with this. I would love to see it. The next unpopular opinion says Trevor Lawrence will surpass Josh Allen next season. I think you can essentially check mark and book that in. You can pencil that in essentially, that Josh Allen will not be as good as Trevor Lawrence next season. You look at what Josh Allen did in year 3 when they acquired Stephon Diggs. He became a 1,400-yard receiver, and Josh Allen absolutely ascended into the elite marks of NFL tier quarterbacks. Then you look at Trevor Lawrence heading into year 3, another year under the scheme, under head coach Doug Peterson with Press Taylor and all the skill position guys that he already worked with last season. Now you add in Calvin Ridley. Trevor Lawrence will be an MVP candidate this upcoming season, and you can essentially bookmark him as a top 3 quarterback in the NFL at the end of next season. All right, I got about 4 or 5 more. It says Trayvon Walker was a better selection than Aiden Hutchinson. Still pissed about that. I'll say I didn't necessarily want to draft a project player heading into the 2022 draft, but I was actually excited that we did take Trayvon Walker because he is a physical specimen, and I do think he's going to take that year 1 to year 2 leap like we saw from Khalil Mack, where Khalil Mack was not this all-time great Hall of Fame edge rusher in year 1, but in year 2, you saw Khalil Mack absolutely explode onto the scene. I think that's what you're gonna see from Trayvon Walker. He's just too physically dominant and too much of a physical specimen to not dominate at the next level. As he continues to refine his pass rushing skills, Josh Allen and the rest of the defensive line continues to get better, and he just learns the NFL game better. Trayvon Walker's gonna dominate. His ceiling is still significantly higher than Aiden Hutchinson's. I believe that by a mile. Hutchinson's a more refined and better prospect and player right now. Sure, I said that heading into the 2022 draft class. I still think Trayvon's the better player, and he will be long term. Now, this next tweet kind of hurts my heart. Parker Washington will take Jamal Agnew's spot by week 1, and Agnew will be on a new team. So, one, Agnew's not going anywhere. He will be on this team. He's the best kick returner / punt returner in the entire NFL. He's also one of the most dynamic offensive playmakers in the game today when you talk about misdirection, coming out of the backfield, jet sweeps, and even, yes, in the receiving department, Jamal Agnew is a very solid wide receiver, and he does a lot for this team. When it comes to Parker Washington, yes, he's got the big body, he's got the physicality and the tools. We got to really see how he continues to develop as training camp, as OTAs, and really the preseason goes along. I don't know if he's going to take slot reps away from Jamal Agnew quite yet, but regardless, Jamal Agnew will be on this team. Getting into the next tweet, it says, Jalen Ramsey is a top 3 Jaguar of all time. Hard disagree. If we're talking pure talent, okay, maybe we can have a discussion, but he's not a top 3 Jaguar of all time. The longevity's just not there. I can easily name off the top of my head like 5 Jaguars that are better. Mark Brunell, Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew, Daryl Smith, John Henderson, Tony Baselli. There we go. I named you a couple. Even Josh Scobie. All of those guys are better than Jalen Ramsey when you look at their longevity and what they made for this Jaguars organization and the fan base. Travis Etienne will be the best offensive skill position player on the Jaguars. That is a hard agree. Travis Etienne's a dynamic playmaker. He's got that home run hit ability. I truly believe he's going to be that thunder and lightning with guys like Dearness Johnson, JaMychal Hasty, and Tank Bigsby now all coming out of the backfield. Travis Etienne, I think you're really going to see him have an 1,800 to 2,000 scrimmage yard season. When you saw what he did last year with the production that he had, while really splitting a lot of those carries and not getting as much action in those first 4 to 5 weeks with James Robinson taking a lot of those carries, you're going to see Travis Etienne continue to grow into this offense. I think he's going to be amazing next season. Now getting into this last one, it says Urban Meyer's 2021 draft was probably the best in Jags history. Dude just can't coach, and Balky is taking the credit. I will say Urban Meyer did select Travis Etienne, which I was so grateful we took Travis Etienne when we did. You know, I know a lot of Jaguar fans had speculated like that was a bad pick. We already have James Robinson. And I kind of already did discuss this earlier in the video, so I won't go too far into it. But I think just by default, the Jaguars taking their franchise quarterback, taking the most important player in Jaguars franchise history in William Trevor Lawrence, aka Mr. Sunshine, the prince that was promised, whatever nickname you have for him, by default, that is probably the most important draft class in our Jags history, simply off of that. But when you still look at Travis Etienne, Andre Sisco, and the other players that we got in that draft class, that is a very talented and loaded draft class. But Jags fans, I want to say thank you guys again for sticking around throughout the whole video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure you guys go ahead and drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me in the channel out tremendously. Make sure you guys also go ahead and hit that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure you guys also go ahead and follow me on my socials, like I said, especially on Twitter. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day. The link tree will be in the description down below, so you guys can go ahead and check that out. But Jags fans, thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Peace.